Picture this. It's the late 1990s and you're on your way to work. What do you see? Probably people going about their day listening to music on their MP3 players. Now imagine a time before that. In 1910, back when vinyls and records were the only music format you could own. Fast forward a couple decades to the invention of the Philips compact cassette. This was a revolutionary and portable piece of technology in the early 1960s. People can finally listen to their music on the go. The only problem was, you'd have to carry around a heavy boombox to do so. That was until the introduction of the Sony Walkman. The CEO of Sony at the time, Masaru Ibuka, wanted to listen to his music on a flight. However, the only playback device he had was an old TCD-5, a popular field recorder for reporters. Ibuka brought this thought to Norio Oga, the executive deputy president of Sony, and he came back to him with a playback-only version of Sony's Pressman recorder. This prototype would be the basis for what we know now as the Sony Walkman.
WALKMANS. ソニーの歩くステレオウォークマン。ヘッドホンで話せるホットライン。
This is Sony Walkman.
ステレオが部屋を出た。ウォークマン、ソニー。
Sony released the first Walkman in July 1st, 1979, costing 33,000 yen or about $200 at the time. This would be $735 in 2021. And while Sony didn't have high hopes for the Walkman, they ended up selling over 30,000 units in the first 2 months of release. The rectangular design of the Walkman was simple. The blue metal body matched well with the silver accent on the side, and it gave the first generation Walkman an aesthetic that was very keen to the 90s. The Walkman gave people something not much had: portability and privacy. Because of its size, you can throw your Walkman in your back pocket and go out for a run, and the lightweight headphones allowed users to listen to their music privately, without disturbing the people around them. When the Walkman was first introduced, it came with a set of 35mm headphone jacks, and an orange hotline button that allowed users to talk to each other without having to stop the music or take their headphones off. However, when Sony realized people would rather buy their own units rather than share one, they would remove these features in future models. The Sony Walkman's level of convenience maintained the device's popularity well into the 1990s. However, the rise of CDs would lead Sony to create their respective players, titled Discmans. Both the Walkman line and the Discman line paved the way in consumer music. But by the 21st century, audio cassettes and CDs would begin to fall out of favor for a newer technology, such as MP3s. By 1984, Sony had made 10 million units, which quickly climbed to 30 million units in 1987. And not 2 years later, they would see an increase to 50 million units before the turn of the century in 1989. As of today, Sony has sold over 400 million units since its initial 1979 debut. And due to the use of Walkmans in movies such as Terminator, James Bond, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, and more recently, Guardians of the Galaxy and Baby Driver, the Sony Walkmans have maintained their pop culture status and secured them to be an icon of the 1980s and 90s. Though the Walkman may not be as quickly recognized by younger generations, its impact in music and consumer electronics is undeniable. The Walkman took people by storm. It took music out of the homes and into the hands of the listener, who now had complete control and privacy over what they wanted to hear. After 2010, Sony had officially discontinued the Walkman's production. And while that means we won't see any new Walkmans in the near future, that doesn't mean you can't get your hands on old models on auction sites. However, since the gain in popularity in Walkmans, many have gone up in price from the original MSRP, some going upwards of $500 to $10,000 in price range. The Walkman paved the way for portable music and even music streaming services today. And unlike CDs and MP3s, the Sony Walkman first created the idea that music listening was and could be a personal experience, and its impact now has become part of everyone's lives, one way or another.